It recognizes our belief in God, our country, not just individuals, our country, our founding fathers codified this in the documents that founded this country. Our reliance, our belief in God, and our reliance upon God. Of that, there's just no debate on that. You may like it, may not like it. Declaration of Independence, we find these truths to be self-evident, that we are endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights, of which are life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. It goes on in the Constitution to say we are putting together this Constitution in a preamble to secure the blessings, not only for ourselves, for posterity. And that Constitution followed with a Bill of Rights that enumerated those godly rights given to man, including the very first one, which was a right to believe in God and to express that belief anytime, anywhere, including the public square.
33 million. It's proven to the money investors that people want something to feed their souls, not just their worst desires.
Absolutely.
And
yes, indeed.
This kind of sums up my entire dialogue career on the heat of the night. You ready for this? Okay, this is it. My 7 years on the heat of the night. My dialogue all summarized into this. Get right on it, Chief.
But Bubba's my name. I like my iced tea sweet and my women the same. I'm your brown-haired badge here in little old Sparta, but nobody's bigger or tougher or smarter. If you're looking to fight, best not be with me. Gonna be held tight, well now we'll just see. You never know in the heat of the night on TNT. Heat of the night on TNT. Now I don't put on any airs, but then I ain't no slob. Just a redneck boy with a blue-collar job. The ladies I date, they gonna have 'em some fun, 'cause I'm a big hunk of crime fighting son of a gun. So if you're looking to fight, come on up in the ring. You wanna be held tight, just about anything can happen in the heat of the night on TNT. Hubba, 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 heat of the night on TNT. Yeah.
It recognizes our belief in God, our country, not just individuals, our country, our founding fathers codified this in the documents that founded this country. Our reliance, our belief in God, and our reliance.
This hour of the Alan Autry Show is sponsored by Sinlaw, the most realistic artificial grass in the Central Valley.
From NFL quarterback to Hollywood to the mayor's office, and now behind the mic at KXEX, this is the Alan Autry Show. No retreat.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
What the hell's going on out here? Everybody clapping out there. Nobody. That the only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
Today, I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth.
I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord.
So, why
seconds left in the game. Do you believe in miracles? Yes! Unbelievable.
You're listening to the Alan Autry Show on the best talk in town. Talk Radio 1550 KFTX.
And welcome to Alan Autry No Retreat. It's Big Wednesday, and I look forward so much to this day of the week because most Wednesdays I get the honor of sitting next to and sharing this hour with my one of the closest friends in life, one of my mentors, pastor out at People's Church, Mr. Larry Powell. Welcome, Larry.
Hey, Alan, it's always good to be with you because we never know what we're going to be talking about.
We never know.
Even though you send me.
Yeah.
Because we get sidetracked so many times.
You're right. And I used to think that was only us and only me.
But it's pretty standard.
Yeah. I was listening to Bongino, some other talk show hosts. They said they send a producer this list of 4 or 5 topics. And they may get halfway through topic number 1.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they tangent off, something happens, and so
it makes life interesting and the Alan Autry Show interesting.
Not as interesting as Powell to the People.
Yeah.
You won't shamelessly plug you, but I will.
Yeah.
Let the folks know when they can get you.
Saturdays at 4 and Sundays at 6 p.m.
And also running throughout the day at KXEX, the best talk in town, 1550, and 102 what is it, 3 or 6 or 3? 102.3 FM. You get occasionally good news with Larry Powell.
Good news with Larry Powell, 10 and 4, Monday through Friday.
And you had a couple of, they're all good, but you had a couple of good ones you read me last week. Just outstanding.
Thank you. A lot of fun.
Even more reason to tune in. Okay. You ready?
Yeah, let's hit it. Mayberry.
There's a whistleblower. But in Washington, D.C., but they ain't whistling Andy Griffin's theme song. They're whistling some very, very damaging testimony in regards to the IRS special handling of the Hunter Biden tax situation. Usually, if you're just an everyday citizen, Larry, when you get a letter from the IRS and we need to talk, you know something not good is going to happen. They're not usually there to protect you going, hey, you got some taxes due? Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Hey, in fact, we're going to cover for you for 5 years, and you're not even going to have to pay it. What do you think about this? This testimony, I guess, is just nuclear towards exposing this special treatment for
well, it really is.
Biden.
And this particular agent, Internal Revenue Service agent, handled 95% of the tax evidence in the Hunter Biden investigation, and he said it clearly should have been a felony and misdemeanor charges. So, I mean, he made no exception on it, felony and misdemeanor, and it got pared down. Said he felt, hamstringed. He was under a lot of pressure and ended up going in a lighter way.
Man, this has got to be driving those people on the far left crazy.
Because
apparently this is what it's not confirmed, but apparently it's common knowledge. He's said that one of the whistleblowers, Joe, I forget his last name, Ziegler, I think maybe his name, is openly gay, Democrat. And I think he's wearing the colors of the pride flag on his tie. And I guess he's going to be looked at as the gay face of white supremacy by, God forbid, telling the truth. Gosh, what an evil individual to go up in front of Congress and tell the truth. Larry, what to the left, because he's now in the bullseye. They're going to go out full discreditation, if that's such a word, full demonization on these two guys who have been described by many prior to this as the cream of the crop in the IRS, meaning that what they bring forward, they've done their homework. The IRS pays them very handsomely over the years. What does the left, the woke left, not your average good Democrat who would say, you know what, you do something like this, whether it's Billy Carter, a brother of a president or a son of a president, whatever, or a president, you just follow where the evidence leads and you come to the conclusions based on that evidence.
Right.
But what do they do now? Because these two whistleblowers are saying the reason they're coming forward because they have nothing to gain from it. except being demonized. They might write a little book, but there's nothing to gain
They're going
outside
to get ripped.
of clearing their conscience.
No.
It seems like. So what's going to be the outcome in terms of how the left treats these two whistleblowers?
Well, you know what? The way I look at this is I like to think of it as they're going to get patted on the back on one side and they're going to get slapped in the face on the other side. They're doing it because it's right, not because of any other ulterior motive. And I think the fact that Ziegler is a Democrat kind of highlights that. And I love what he said. He was quoted as saying, "I'm a Democrat. In the last presidential election, I actually did not vote. I thought it would be irresponsible of me to do so because I didn't want to show bias one way or the other." Now that's the kind of person, that's the judge you're looking for. That's the investigator you're looking for, is someone who is going to do exactly what you said. Look at the evidence and see what it tells us rather than designing evidence and snipping and clipping so that I use the evidence I want instead of the evidence I have.
And whether that evidence either supports or is punitive to somebody I may like.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, gosh, how refreshing. Come on, folks on the left that are listening right now, because I know you're out there and I know you listen. I get your emails. Come on, can't you just say, you know what? Because you know it deep in your heart. You know, if this was just an average citizen, much less Donald Jr., son of President Trump, if it would have been him that had left the laptop there at the repair shop and found all the stuff you found on, he would actually be in prison right now. You know that. But not just that instance, that comparison, but just the average citizen. You're talking about an individual who owes millions of dollars to the IRS.
Yeah.
Who actually, they hid money. They know that right now. They put it in shell companies, and they know this. And the head of the IRS and the powers that be just sat on it to run out the clock so the statute of limitations would run out. So not only Hunter Biden and perhaps Joe Biden would not be criminally held liable for that, but would not have to even pay any taxes. The taxes won't be owed. And that should get under the skin of just about anyone, because as much as you support Joe Biden and Hunter Biden, and that you hate Republicans, if you're just average Joe Jane in the Democratic Party, and even on the woke left, and you did this, they would come after you like a starving dog in a meat house. The fact that you supported them would mean nothing. They would send you to jail and throw away the key. You got to think about this. You mean nothing to them, to that power structure. They will just, don't you agree, Larry? This whole notion that if an average citizen who supports Joe Biden, who would support Hunter Biden, who does, if they owed millions of dollars in taxes, and you came before the judge and you came before them and said, "Hey, can you give me a letter of recommendation because I supported you?"
Sure.
You're going to get, they're going to use you as a political example to show how fair they are. I could just see it. We know they're woke. We know they supported us, but you know what? The evidence led to them. And I'm an American, and that individual, I believe in democracy. I believe in justice. I believe in do the crime, you do the time, and they're going to go to jail and prison forever.
Well, if you're going to hold President Trump liable for certain things, without concluding evidence, you would certainly think that Hunter is going to have to face the music in this whole thing. And his attorneys said that they thought it was one of the most in-depth investigations that had ever been done by the IRS. And now you've got the folks coming forward saying, "Yeah, but we were under a lot of pressure. We ended up not." They said there was enough evidence to go for a felony.
Okay, we're talking about what should happen. Excuse me. These guys should be taken serious. Anybody with any modicum of common sense knows that where there's this much smoke, there's fire. And they got the emails. I'm sitting here with my father. You better do what you say you're going to do, talking to a communist Chinese member, or because you don't know what we're capable of doing to exact our revenge. The next day, he gets a check for $5 million. We know that happens, and that people have been convicted
on circumstantial evidence. And when that circumstantial evidence is overwhelming, people go to prison normally. Apparently, if your name is Biden, you get an exemption. You get the waiver, if you will.
Yeah.
But you're finding out things in this Republican investigation in the House. Very damning, very irrefutable, almost irrefutable to common sense and also to the rule of law, irrefutable, of actions that are unlawful that happened with Hunter Biden in particular, this Burisma thing. His selling of influence, not only his influence, but that of his father and his uncle. But it doesn't seem to be getting any traction with what they call the legacy press, the traditional press,
mainstream media.
It's like, okay, so what? Turn the page.
Yeah.
My question to you, is this going to happen again with this testimony? Is it going to be so what? These people said that. They're credible. It's probably true. But we at the DOJ, Merrick Garland, we're not going to do anything. And let's start talking about how bad Trump is and speed up the process of getting him in jail as quickly as possible.
You know, unfortunately, that seems to be the tack that they're taking, and you're going to see it continue. And the old story is always talk loudly, talk often, speak frequently, and it doesn't matter whether you're telling the truth or not. You'll get some people to believe, and others will be disinterested after a while because they've heard it so much that they no longer pay any attention. And I think we've heard so many outlandish things over the last 6 years that have just been crazy that we think crazy is normal. And that's really, really a sad thing to think about.
To normalize insanity.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're in trouble when you do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me share with you what Ziegler alleges that the evidence...
Ziegler's one of the whistleblowers, folks, out there testifying today.
Alleges that evidence he collected showed how Hunter Biden improperly claimed business deductions for a range of personal expenses, college tuition for his kids, bills for stays at posh Hollywood hotels, payments to escorts, no-show employees. In 2021, Ziegler says he drafted a memorandum recommending prosecutors charge Hunter Biden with multiple felonies and misdemeanors. In August of 2022, we had a phone call with all of the assigned prosecutors, and they all said, all four of them, that they were recommending the approval of felony and misdemeanor charges. So that was in August of last year, 1 year ago. All four prosecutors said, yes, they are felonies. What happened? Who intervened?
Nothing. No one.
Yeah.
See, folks, they talk about preservation of democracy. If something doesn't happen on this, if the left does not take this serious, if the media doesn't say, okay, we're going to look into this, is there any other proof needed that there's a coalition out there between the Democratic National Committee, academia, legacy media, and these very, very powerful, well-funded nonprofits, much of which are funded by the so-called stimulus bill and the COVID relief bill? How much more? What are you going to need? Or is it you really don't care? Your philosophy is everybody's crooked, but if it's my party in there that's crooked, I'm going to look the other way. And if it's the party I don't belong to, I'm going to be on it like a laser beam and try to put everybody in jail. Because really look at this. Step back and take your political beliefs that you may have. Try for a moment to set them down and just think about this. You had a thing called the Steele dossier put together based on a conversation someone had at a bar in Russia with an unknown individual who said that Trump could be involved with help with the Russians to influence the election. A bar conversation. You build a whole dossier around that. You take it to a judge saying, we have irrefutable evidence that Trump was in cahoots, colluded with the Russians to win the election. And you stand by, you're asked by the judge, well, what proof do you have of this? Well, we stand by this Christopher Steele dossier, who, mind you, was offered $1 million to corroborate that. Give us some more proof, because they knew they were on shaky ground.
Mm-hmm.
Steele could not provide anything other than the conversation at the bar with some dude he really didn't even know. So you take that information, you lie to a judge to get what's called a Pfizer warrant, which gives them the ability to spy on a campaign. They proceeded to spy on a candidate's campaign based on a conversation at a bar. Now compare that with two well-decorated, referred to cream of the crop IRS agents who said they have irrefutable proof, emails, documentation over the years that said we told the higher ups at the IRS, the leader of the IRS, and the attorney general that Hunter Biden had a lot of dealings and had money coming in that are, they call a Suspicious Records Act or something like that are extremely suspicious. We've been around a long time, Mr. Merrick Garland. We've been around. We've done a lot of cases. I got a lot of awards on my wall from the IRS, trusting what I say. And there's something rotten in Denmark, in Ukraine, wherever this guy goes, Hunter Biden, there is something awfully smelly about the fiscal financial dealings, including his association with his uncle. And they do nothing. You have all of this mountain of evidence and you do nothing, yet you go and impeach part of your foundation for your impeachment request, which goes through, impeached twice, by the way, a sitting president of the United States based on a freaking bar conversation. Now, you're going to tell me when I sit here and say there are two tiers of government, and depending on these folks that are in power in our most powerful agencies, the DOJ, the FBI, the CIA,
IRS,
unelected bureaucrats.
Yep.
And you've got to give them a name. You got to give that entity a name because they have enormous power. You give them a name, well, let's call it deep state. Call it whatever you want. It's there. It's powerful. It's deadly to democracy. It is vengeful. It is something that America cannot tolerate and sustain this kind of corruption within these departments if America is ever going to remain or keep its democracy. You can't have unelected officials. The elected officials respond to us, the people, not to these folks, and they're going to vote. They're going to push this deep state, these bureaucrats for the hand that's going to continue to feed them, whether they're successful or fair or good Americans or not.
No, exactly. You know, when you lose credibility, you lose democracy. And I think that's where we're at right now. Let me read another quote from Ziegler. I love this guy. He's brutally honest.
On the screen, right?
Yeah, brutally honest. It says this: at the end of the day, it's a matter of, are we treating everyone the same? Are we treating all taxpayers the same? And in this case, no, I don't think so. So he's saying that when you look at all the evidence, John Doe would have gotten indicted for a felony under any other circumstance.
And don't you know this guy? You just know that this kind of scenario or something like it happened. You know, this guy's probably been involved in good people who made some either mistakes that they didn't know they made, had a bad accountant or whatever. It doesn't matter. Your accountant makes a mistake. You're going to bear the consequences.
Yeah.
And seeing people, do much less, way less than Hunter Biden, and seeing their reputations lost. And because he had to do the right thing.
Jail time in some cases.
Yeah, he's had to do the right thing. You talk to prosecutors. They say, I've cried when I've had to send somebody to prison, but justice required it.
Right.
You just know this guy had to be thinking about all of those people that he really actually felt for, that had to do prison time, had to leave their families.
Sure.
And you're seeing this guy who's, and I hate to get personal like this. I'm just thinking along with this guy. He's got to be sitting there going, here's a guy, drug addict, hanging out with hooks, all this, never been held accountable for anything. Never been allowed the blessing to hit rock bottom. I was allowed the blessing to hit rock bottom because I didn't have a rich daddy to bail me out. And I'm thankful for that. So I probably could have been just like Hunter Biden. I don't get myself full of pride and say it had never happened to me. But you have him, you know the thing with the daughter. They don't even recognize the daughter. I mean, you're looking at this guy, Ziegler. He's got to be thinking, man, this guy's going to go scot-free. Not only that, he's going to walk out of here and probably sell his paintings for $2 million instead of $1 million and go back to doing the same thing he was doing before. And maybe, just maybe, Larry Powell, we have someone here that's really laying it all out on the line, risking everything, his job, his reputation, his standing within his political party, probably his circle of friends, willing to put that on the line. Why? To do the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
To do the right thing. Not the politically expedient thing, not the thing to make him more welcome at the parties that he goes to. And I mean, that is so that wherever this goes, this guy Ziegler, he just, to me, how refreshing. And I know that surprises somebody. And I don't know why you would be surprised, but I know there's people out there that are. You say, well, Autry, you're conservative, and he's gay. So what? I worked with a gay guy, Howard Rollins, for years. I love that guy. He loved me. It wasn't all about our sexual orientation. He made great barbecue. I was over at his house. We talked about a lot of things besides his gay life or my straight life. We didn't want to talk about that. He was my friend. Why do you find that so hard to believe that a conservative could support someone who's gay or who's a Democrat? Got to evolve. You talk about conservatives are these Cro-Magnon and prehistoric guys in their attitude. You sit there and make that determination about me because I believe in the Second Amendment. I believe I'm in right to life. I believe you shouldn't groom kids about sexual orientation either way, straight or when they're in a kindergarten. And because of that, you think that I wouldn't support a gay. This guy right here, if he's who I think he is, I may be holding him up on a pedestal. And you shouldn't do that too fast. I'm sure he's got his flaws. But let me tell you something right now. This guy runs for office and he's in my district. Right now, with me, he's a front runner for this one vote based on just his honesty and integrity. If I turn out to be a fish that got reeled in, he's the biggest con artist in the world, then I'll admit it. Larry, what's your? Well, I know I gave you a lot of rambling there. No, dadgummit.
It's good. The decision not to charge the president's son with tax felonies was a big concern to both of these guys. They felt there was enough evidence, but they felt that the Biden Justice Department had in some way impeded the case and said, no, we can't go that. And one of the things they brought up was that maybe there was a concern about Beau Biden's death, that Hunter Biden wouldn't be convicted because of sympathy for Beau Biden's death if he went to trial. Well, you can't decide justice based on what a jury might decide,
right?
Based on whatever else has happened in life.
You can't be like James Comey. Nobody would convict
Hillary
Clinton on this.
No,
you don't know that.
You take it to the courts and then let the process.
If the evidence warrants that, correct?
Absolutely.
It warranted in Hillary Clinton, and it warrants here with Joe Biden.
Absolutely.
It warranted with Richard Nixon.
Yep.
And there's some Republicans running around out there that they expose things. It would be warranted for them to go through this process.
Well, and Weiss, who was a part of Department of Justice with Garland, it was interesting because he produced a letter that said they could prosecute in any jurisdiction anywhere in the United States. But Ziegler and Shapley's the other whistleblower, basically said that they were excluded from California and Washington, D.C., and so they were not able to actually go to other places and do a charge or do something. So it was actually
D.C. would not and L.A. would not go along with.
No, so they targeted certain places, to go where they could get the indictment, as seen with the Manhattan district attorney and some of the things that have happened there. So,
I tell you, it's, they say the truth will set you free, but first it'll make you miserable. We're experiencing the truth about our system. Still, the best system in the world is what we're working under right now. It's in some Somebody once said, and I agree with them, it's actually the worst system in the world except for all the rest.
All the rest.
I mean,
Yeah.
we have a chance here to clean this thing up a little better, starting with the federal claim. Can you imagine? Yeah, Mitch McConnell gets a lot of heat,
Constantly.
and some of it deservedly so. But people forget it was Mitch McConnell who had to know something that a lot of other people didn't when he adamantly said no to Merrick Garland's nomination for the Supreme Court. He knew that this man put forth the face of being someone who was unbiased, non-political. And we've seen he's anything but that. He's almost a Democratic activist, operative, way on the left.
Unashamedly.
Yeah. Who would send FBI agents to a school board after one incident? You don't do that. First of all, you let's see if this is a pattern, and then you find out the true facts about that before you unleash federal agents on parents, especially a parent who's complaining that their daughter got raped by an individual in a bathroom that the boy should have never been in. And the dad got emotional and started going over the line. Really? Oh, I don't know any other dads out there, including me, that would do that. Do you? Of course, every dad that loves their kid. And you're talking to a board, and the board's just looking down, yawning, because it's not their kid that got raped. It's not their kid being scarred forever. And you're sitting there just perpetuating the system and saying, we're not even going to expel the kid who did it. We're just going to transfer him to another school. Well, if that doesn't set a father off, and Merrick Garland picks a side on that. He picks the side of the school board. I mean, it's this whole process, I hope people are paying attention. This woke left deal is trying to keep, and the media, because, it's going to be interesting. These two guys should be on every single talk show that's on TV.
I'm hoping they are. Yeah.
How much you want to bet?
There's going to be some pressure not to.
How much that you won't see them anywhere. I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we got a couple of subjects here. We will make a decision during the break here. But please don't go away. We love y'all. Numbers are going up. Boy, the views on the Facebook's going up. Please tell your friends about it. Share the program. Appreciate you so much being part of Autry's Army. We're all in this thing together. We'll be right back.
Facebook folks, so glad that you're tuning into the Alan Autry Show every Monday through Friday. Alan loves the comments, by the way, that and we take a look at all of them, and it just is a real boost internally to see the good things that are being said about his show, and also about your insights as to what you know and believe and think when you share those as well. It's really cool. Really cool.
It is very cool. Appreciate you all so much.
Yep.
At this stage of my life, I wouldn't want to be doing anything else.
I look forward to Wednesdays, boy. Let me tell you.
I'm telling you, man. Regular on Tulsa King, nah. 911 Lone Star, nah. My own series,
yeah, maybe.
I tell you, if I did go do a series, I promise you this: the radio equipment will come with me, and we will we will broadcast regularly from the set, because I love this time.
Well,
let me pull a Dale Oquist. Have I told you I loved you?
Yeah, really.
Have I told you that lately? Well, I do. I love what he does.
Well, this guy's hoping that Alan gets his own show because it's my only chance to get a scene.
Hey, what a scene you did in the shamelessly plug Victory by
Submission.
And also the Western call Forgiven, not The Forgiven. That was Clint's.
Yeah.
This is Forgiven. 1.6 million views.
Amazing.
I actually got a check with that in the mail. It was a low budget. And Victory by Submission starting to kick in. We've got closing in on 300,000 views.
And let me tell you, folks, you have to see that. I'll tell you, that thing will make you feel so good as you're going through it. And at the end of it, you're just going to stand up and cheer.
And that funeral scene, that picture in the funeral scene, it's like you're there.
You are. We were, the neat thing was that took place in an old cemetery in Madera, California. Yeah. And headstones were above the ground, and in California you don't see that very often.
Here he comes.
Cool.
Here he comes.
Hey, here's our buddy.
Larry, do you remember you came out and did the scene out in the junkyard?
Yes.
That was the beginning. God took this thing. It was going to be a whole different movie.
Oh, it was, yes.
And you were great in those scenes. You still have that footage?
I never got it.
You got it. You're outstanding in that thing.
Wow. Well,
I mean, you're good in it, but you had more to do in that one.
Yeah, that was fun.
You had more to do.
Jeremy?
Oh, since my baby left me.
Got a new place to dwell.
Song's just not right without the.
No, it's not.
I saw those Jackie Gleason honeymooners. I've been watching it on BTV.
Me too.
He's got to do a speech for the lodge, and he gets the hiccups.
He is struggling.
Oh, wise and wondrous one. Are you clean shaven?
I am.
I kind of like that stubble. It's like like you're like a vaquero coming off the range.
Yesterday's look?
Hat on? Yeah.
I got too much white coming
30 seconds.
Can you run a full beard if you?
Patchy.
Mine's real patchy. I got too much Indian in me.
Yeah. I'm getting up there in age, Alan. I'm almost going to be 40 in 2 years, so.
Are you going to have midlife?
20 seconds?
What are you going to do in your midlife crisis?
Become a liberal.
You're going to go.
You're half my age, friend.
That's early Alzheimer's there for you, buddy.
10
you started
seconds?
to feel that. And there's no cure.
5 seconds.
Oh, man. Can you believe our audience is growing with all this nonsense we're talking about?
This hour of the Alan Autry Show is sponsored by Sinlaw, the most realistic artificial grass in the Central Valley.
And welcome back to Alan Autry, No Retreat with Larry Powell, and now Guillermo Moreno.
Yes,
big
sir.
shout out to Sin Lawn. Keep supporting the Sin Lawn. You'd only have to get one lawn to pay for all of this ad time. So hang in there. We love you. We're going to make an example out of you, buddy. Appreciate Sin Lawn and all of our sponsors coming on board. They're great. I heard them the other day. You hear a lot of jokes sometimes. This one I thought was pretty good. God calls down to George W. Bush. I said, George, what do you believe in? And George said, I believe in free market enterprise and a strong America. God said, come and sit to my right. Then he spoke down to Barack Obama. Said, Barack, what do you believe in? Barack Obama replied, I believe in injustice and equality for all. Come, sit to my left. And he went down to Donald Trump. He says, Donald Trump, what do you believe in? Of which Trump said, I believe you're sitting in my seat.
Oh, come on.
Come on. You got to admit that's good. Come on. You got to believe. You got to come on. Even the staunchest Trump supporters got to think that was a good
God, I love you. You love me. That's why you're going to give me your seat. You're going to give me your seat.
I'll hand it back in 4 years. And heaven will be, heaven's going to be stronger than it's ever been. Stronger than ever been. We're going to build a wall the devil can't get through.
Oh, man.
All right, let's move on.
We're here all night.
Hey, listen. Okay. Let's talk about the latest indictment. Trump announced last night on the Sean Hannity show. They got a new lineup there at Fox. One white lady and 3 white dudes.
Oh, that's good.
That's good. It's good. I love it. I watch it. But it's,
they couldn't throw one.
What Lawrence Jones should be in there. Lawrence Jones is good. He's good on that network.
Yeah, they could have thrown one.
Yeah. I think Hannity's going to retire and they'll put Lawrence in there. But in the interview with Hannity, he announced he got a target letter from the Department of Justice. And I don't think it was a target letter saying that they didn't agree with, the Tuckett child's underwear that he had at Mar-a-Lago. This is a target letter, means you are being targeted for a crime, and you are most likely, not for surely, but most likely going to be indicted on those charges. It's usually sent to lower level individuals, cases, that sort of thing, but they saw fit to give him that target letter involving, I guess the charge is going to be he instigated and started the January 6th insurrection. My question is, what chances do you have? But most of the experts, even those on the left, said in order to win this case, you have to get inside the president's head that he knowingly knew that was going to end up in a riot. He knew beforehand that these people were going to do what they were going to do. Tough to prove to get inside. My question is this another nail in the coffin of his candidacy, or just another example of something that's going to make him more, stronger in the primary?
So I think this is a really good tactic because the left and let's not
for who the left,
the left, absolutely. Okay. I think it's a great tactic for the left, and it's actually a great tactic for Donald Trump. Let me start off with the left. The left, this should have been really a charge that should not have been brought. I think the panel, the January 6th committee, realized America's disappetite with anything January 6th and trying to blame it on Donald Trump. So they didn't get the memo. So they know they're going nowhere with this. They know this is going to be another feather in Donald Trump's cap. This is going to continue rallying the base. But let me tell you why. If I were a political consultant for the left, this is what I would say. I would say, yeah, absolutely. And remember, I'm not a political consultant for the left. But this is what I would tell the left. If they hired me, I'd say, look, it's going to go nowhere, right? They're going to say, yeah, okay, this is why you need to file it. Because to get into this man's head, you're going to need to get into the people that were around him, all right? There's a lot of people that are kind of on the fence or really hate Donald Trump that were around him on that day. Kevin McCarthy spoke to him. Mike Pence spoke to him. The White House staff spoke to him. A lot of these individuals. So what they're going to want to do is they're going to want to start, a family feud. They're going to want to make sure that anyone around him would turn on him. And maybe in that we find out something more, the smoking gun that we haven't. So I think it's great in that respect. Here's the other thing it does. They believe they can beat Donald Trump. You know that, right? The Democrats firmly believe they got his number. They want him to be the candidate. So this is also another reason to bring this charge because they know it's going to rally the base. This man's going to have unbridled support, and it forces the rest of the Republican field, which they've already started to do. They're really starting to distance themselves from Donald Trump and really starting to say, well, it's just a lot right now. Yeah, it's wrong, but it's just a lot around this candidate. That's why you should look at me. So is it going to have any impact on the general election? No, but is it going to help out the left?
About the primary?
Oh, gosh, no. Even more so. The man's got the nomination. Absent
you think this just increases his popularity in the primary?
It does, and it's
for the nomination.
Yeah, and it's an insurance policy for the left because with another one, and this one has, unlike the one that Alvin Bragg brought in with Stormy Daniels, the character of Stormy Daniels and everyone in that case is pretty bad. The one about this where he walked into this men's store and this lady fell in love with him and they were doing the hanky-panky less than 2 minutes later, that one's not credible. The election interference, that one might have the Georgia stuff. So now you're in here. Now you have a room full of Republicans. This drags everybody into the mix. So I think it's good for the left. I think it's good strategy for Donald Trump. It's great strategy because that man's popularity is going to continue rising. It's horrible for the candidates for the rest of the field.
Larry? Well, I think it's pretty clear that Trump was impeached twice. One, the Mueller witch hunt failed. They failed on the Russia hoax. When you take a look at all of those things, you know what Trump's going to do? He's going to use all of that to show they've been after me and they can't get me because there's nothing there. Folks, vote for me. We're going to get back to normalcy.
Yeah, it's one way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah. But you mentioned that's what you're going to see. You mentioned something, Larry, that as we think through this and probably overthink it. But you said that insanity is being normalized. And I think you're onto something. Has Trump been around so long that his way of doing things, his way of responding in tweets, have been normalized to the point where some fence sitters who loved his policies, didn't like his demeanor, said, you know what? I hate what's going on now so bad with inflation going crazy. I'm ready to go back over here because this insanity is worse than that insanity.
Yep.
You know, the Biden insanity from the Afghanistan withdrawal, that inflation is good versus no inflation, all of this, these whistleblowers, his son. I mean, do you want another 4 years of Hunter Biden stuff? Because it used to be you want another 4 years of Donald Trump, holding your breath, whether you can get a tweet and you're going to say,
what's he going to say?
Yeah, and isn't it the same thing now with Hunter Biden and Joe Biden? Am I going to wake up and find Joe Biden keels over on visit to Zelensky, dead, and now we have Kamala Harris? I mean, these it's a different. The craziness, I think, has been normalized. I think as people think through this, they're considering many more things than they did before, because at the time of the election with Trump and Biden, things were pretty good. I mean, inflation, we had the pandemic. Okay, now that was transformational, but nobody knew exactly where this was going to go. They didn't imagine complete lockdowns in the economy, all of the devastation with the schools, unemployment, historical lows, inflation, historical lows, unemployment, historical lows with African-American community, Hispanics. They had taken out Baghdadi, destroyed ISIS, had good working relationships with our enemies, with North Korea. You didn't have any missiles going over Japan. There was world stability, basically, during that time. So I think it's so many things. It's fascinating. It's scary. It's interesting all at once. All of those things in the mix. And you try to handicap this thing. It is extremely extreme. What you said, Guillermo, I agree with. But I heard no less than a liberal voice than Bakari Jones, who, those of you watch CNN a lot, you know who he is. An African-American commentator, very, very smart, very likable guy, but very far left. Not afraid to come out and does not like Trump at all. Doesn't care too much for Republicans, but can converse with them, at times on the show and make for stimulating conversation. But it was posed to him, aren't they more afraid, the moderator said to Bakari Jones, isn't the left more afraid of DeSantis than Donald Trump? And he emphatically said, no. Donald Trump is still the candidate that the left fears the most.
Without a doubt.
That could beat Biden, which surprised me. He said, I mean, you could tell by the look on his face, his body language. I think he senses, because of just the abject failure in every aspect of Biden's administration, unless you like the most prolific display of spending phony money and how it destroys an economy, you think that that's a success. You defy you to find really anything that he's done positive. And you've got a war over in the Ukraine that is just one false bad move away from escalating into a full-fledged world war. And you have Trump saying, it would have never happened if I was president. And he proceeds to tell you why. Because I had a relationship with Putin. I told Putin, you do this, you're going to be in trouble. I told Zelensky. Zelensky and he said, had a good relationship, and he did. Zelensky said there was nothing wrong about that phone call. What are you guys talking about? He said, I could get these guys together. And said, if you don't work something out, the United States is not going to be either one of you as allies. I mean, we're going to be here, but we're going to make life very difficult. That's what he did to China. China threatened him. He slapped a 20% tariff on their goods, and they backed off. So I don't know if he would settle it in 24 hours. I think that's kind of silly. But yeah. I don't think that you would have had it the way you did. Let me ask you. We got about 8 minutes.
I think they would have just waited it out. Putin would have waited it out.
I think so.
8 years. He would have. If Donald Trump would have won and he would be in his second term right now, he would have waited it out.
Don't you feel, all of y'all listening out there, watching, regardless of where you are in the political spectrum, don't you know in your deepest heart of hearts that when Putin saw our surrender in Afghanistan, that's when he pressed the go button right then on the invasion of Ukraine? I have no doubt.
It was one box he checked and was waiting for.
I think yes.
No, you're right.
But I think it was the big button pushing event.
It's the final one.
He says, America will probably be no weaker than they are right now. This president, this vice president, the stuff that's going on in America right now. If we're going to go, we got to go now. And his first phone call was to Xi Jinping, explained to Xi Jinping, and says, you know what? Go ahead. You'll be the test case for when we go to Taiwan. We got your back. You go. And that's the danger of when you have a president who doesn't govern by peace through strength. Reagan was the first one. Prior to that, you didn't even have to say that. America started losing its way with the Jimmy Carter era. You know, every president before that knew that you got to have strength if you're going to have peace. You got to be able to get all the way back.
Softly, carry a big stick.
All the way back prior to even Teddy Roosevelt. Yeah. That was just an understood basic tenet of how you operate on the world stage as a superpower. Okay, and this president has completely lost that, and now we're sitting over there with it. Let me ask you this: we get on this January. And I don't know if there's a clear-cut answer to this, but I'm going to lay some stuff on the table right now. You'll say the truth set you free first to me. But I was thinking about this last night. We have a 50-50 country, deeply divided on several very key issues that are fundamental to us as a civil society. But let's take how the government is viewed, not just the elected officials, but the bureaucracies, these deep state situations where people that were not elected basically controlling the shots, the FBI, CIA, the Interior Department. You can go down the line. They're going to support who feeds them, okay? But you hear the threat to democracy a lot. This action's a threat to democracy. January 6th, a threat to democracy. The people on the right saying, Biden making these sweetheart deals with Hunter Biden, threat to democracy, the way they're treating Trump. You have 50% of the country that see January 6th and the mob, as they say it, the mob of insurrectionists attacked the Capitol to try to disrupt and derail a peaceful, free, and fair election process and the exchange of power goes with that. I saw that as an attack on that basic fundamental freedom and basic tenet of who we are as a country. Those rioters, they were called insurrectionists, not rioters, because of that. They wanted to overthrow the government, the free and fair election. Okay, you got 50% of the people that believe that. They voted for Biden. Take that as a hypothesis. Then you have the other 50% that believe August 8th was as big a date to be remembered in infamy as January 6th, 2021. On August 8th, 2022, President Trump's residence, Mar-a-Lago, was raided by armed insurrectionists seeking to influence the 2024 election by raiding a former president's private residence with armed government official, armed FBI personnel, and with the intent of, because of documents that every president takes on, and they see that as a fundamental threat to democracy if armed government officials can storm your private residence like these so-called insurrectionists stormed the Capitol January 6th. They see that as just as egregious. That if they could do it to a president, they could do it to you or I. If you accept those two premises as being threats of democracy, how do you reconcile your way through that and bring this country at least on the road to getting back together and to unite this country so we can move? First of all, do you agree with that analysis?
I think it's a pretty good analysis. I think what has to happen is the Supreme Court has to become more active in the decisions that they make. They have to stop some of the craziness to get us out of the wokeness and get us back to the liberty that we were founded on, where anybody can speak on any topic and do the things that the Constitution allows us to do. Unfortunately, what's happened is there's been an effort to make a mockery of the Constitution, and as a result, hinder free speech, hinder free movement, hinder a lot of things that the Constitution grants.
And unless the Supreme Court takes some positions to stop that, I think we're going to continue the fall. The slide.
Well, right now, I believe, I think maybe last year or right now, I haven't seen the recent polls, but Americans are the most distrustful of government now than at any other point in time. And when you have distrust, I mean, look at our founding. I mean, we distrusted, the British king. We didn't agree with what he was doing. So I'm not saying, hey, we're gonna start all over again. But the American people are the ones that are going to have to stand up and say, you know what, enough is enough. This is not fair. This isn't right. I'm not sure anymore if elections are the correct arbiter of that. And that was one thing I wanted to mention earlier, Alan, is, while everyone's focusing on Donald Trump and Joe Biden, their families, these investigations, the primaries, what I really hope happens is that someone is, and I know the Trump administration does, they have teams of attorneys in battleground states that are already setting the game plan for election night. I really hope that we understand and we make sure that there is integrity in our elections. I don't mind getting beat by Joe Biden again. I mean, I do. I don't want it to happen. But as long as it's fair and square, if the majority of Americans said, you know what, it's bad, it's horrible, but damn it, I don't like that guy, I'm going to go vote, and that is it. Then, hey, we lost fair and square. The Trump administration is banking on the fact that there's going to be so much disappointment that they're going to be able to outmatch any election integrity issues. I think that's their game plan. So and their game plan is also making sure that they have those battleground states, they have attorneys, and they're ready to go, ready to rock and roll that night. But we're in an age where, and a time period where the next 4 years are going to be tumultuous because you're going to have Biden still there or you're going to have Trump. I mean, that's just reality. We're not going anywhere. We're not coming together.
Let me give you a quick statistic. I know we're running out of time. 1958, 3/4 of Americans trusted federal government. Today, 24%.
Yeah.
I think, Guillermo, you guys hit it right on the head. You're going to have to somehow, some way bring more confidence in the election process. It used to be everybody turned out a Tuesday, on election day. Paper ballot, tougher to fix an election that way. Absolutely. They managed to do it in Chicago, a few other places. But people trusted the process a little bit more. That's going to be, I think, the key. Folks, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you so much. God bless. Love you. And the good Lord willing, creek don't rise. We're going to see you on Thursday. Guillermo will be out of town, but he's going to come back on Monday. You going to be here?
Yes, sir.
And Larry Powell is coming up when, Larry? Wednesday. Today. Later on today. Love y'all. Bye-bye. Just do your best. Let God do the rest.